Anime stars. Anime waifu card collection. Anime stars card collection. Here we go. Okay, first things first. Back to grading. Nami, get your beautiful woman self to Z. Okay, Nami. And then, that's everything else. Let me just turn on this a lot of packs in my inventory actually. Top one, guys. Top one. Yes sir. Yes sir. Yes sir. Yes sir. That's oh my god, let's check the stats. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. 200. Oh, who are you? Hey, what's up, bro? Yeah, what's up? This is me. Welcome, you're in my video. Yo. You're in my video. What's up with me? Okay. Why'd you put in the cat girls? Yes. Check my bio. What is channel? Lex. My user. My name! My name! Not display! Not. The L. This one up here. This one here. Oh. Yeah. Lex, Alex, Zoe, Z, yes. Yes. C. Come here. All time. All time. That's me. Yo, what is wrong with my game, bro? Why is it so slow? Anyway, today's episode will consist of me battling. Yes, add me, my friend. Thank you. Fans. I don't know, I just made her into a fan. Anime Showdown. Right, 0-2, and then I believe I wanted to use somebody who looks cute. Where's my mama fan? Arlecchino. Echidna? Oh, she's like at the edge. We'll bring us good luck. Marine? I feel like it's running marine lasers. Astronaut? I don't think Astronaut gets enough love, you know? Maybe Rumi's pretty cool. Right. Items. Mass profit. Item profit. Attack boost. Fight. Yeah, we're gonna be fighting for a long time. Guys, I crashed Opera because guys, look at my screen. Look at my screen. What did this one do? This like support killed my Opera. What is all this? Yo, Discord is literally trying to get me nuked, bro. How many tabs did Discord open? I don't need this much support. Oh my god. Oh my god, guys. What the hell is my browser? I don't think my browser can handle this much support. What the hell? Okay, I'm gonna go read my book. I wish I had the arm with Okay, let me go around, guys. Getting mad and annoying. Let's turn this off. Break your heart, said you're sitting in a broke down car. 4 years no house. Oh my god. I can't stop. No, I can't stop. So baby, pull me closer in the backseat of your Rover that you know you can't afford. Shoulder. Yeah, interlude. Flashback. I remember the day she chose to misfire. She stood beneath the golden lattice of the high court with the entire empire watching, her silver eyes reflecting 1,000 equations she had been forced to memorize since childhood. They had called her their oracle, their weapon, their perfect answer to an imperfect universe. I had called her something else when no one could hear me, mine to protect even if she hated me for it. She thought the decision was hers. She believed she had finally broken free when she reached for the lattice and fractured the geometry of the upper planes, turning the immaculate architecture of the court into a collapsing constellation. I watched from the shadows, my hands stained with dark matter they believed they had eradicated. And for one brief moment she looked directly at me, not at the commander, not at the traitor, not at the monster the court had taught her to fear. At me. There was fury in her eyes, but beneath it was something far more dangerous. Recognition. If I am your weapon, her voice vibrated through the crystal pillars, then I choose to misfire. She thought she had finally won. She hadn't. I pulled the trigger. Not because I wanted her dead, because I wanted her alive in a world where the High Court could no longer reach her. I let her fall. Hi, Papa.
Ça va, Alessandra?
Yeah, hi, Papa.
Donc tu vas au
Cinema. Oh, what restaurant?
Hein?
What restaurant?
Maïs.
We're going to a restaurant now?
Je sais pas parce qu'Ethan n'y veut plus.
I don't want to. If Ethan's not going, I'm not going. I don't need to. We have food at home.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, see you, Papa. Because I wanted her alive in a world where the High Court could no longer reach her. I let her fall. I let the golden lattice tear through the sky around her and watched as her memories scattered into 3 distinct, overlapping ghosts. The crescent moon, the frantic stardust, and the angry sun. I watched her reach for me as she disappeared beyond the edge of reality, and I did nothing. That was the part she would remember as betrayal. It was the part I would remember as the moments I destroyed the only thing I had ever loved enough to become a monster for. I I needed her scattered, I needed her empty. A full glass cannot be filled with new poison, and an oracle who remembered the truth would never willingly burn the world. So I erased the truth and left her with hatred instead. Hatred was safer. Hatred would keep her moving. Hatred would keep her alive. At least that's what I told myself. The Iron Vault. For 1,000 void dicks, I played the mortal. I let my skin smoke beneath dying. Let me just separate this. Just like Holy Mary, Mariana Cross. Okay. The Iron Vault. For 1,000 void dicks, I played the mortal. I let my skin smoke beneath dying stars. I let tears freeze against my cheeks. I let her believe she was watching the devastating grief of a boy mourning the star he had lost, never realizing that the star was sitting 3 Stxrfallz away from him, glaring at him as though she could kill him with nothing but the hatred in her eyes. Every time she called me a liar, I wanted to tell her exactly how much of her life had been built around lies. Every time she tried to leave me behind, I wanted to remind her that I had already watched her fall once and would tear apart every empire in existence before I allowed the universe to take her from me twice. But I said nothing. The Iron Vault inside my mind was never built to protect me from her gravity. It was built to imprison what she awakened. A thick iron blade buried beneath every heartbeat, waiting for the moment I would stop pretending to be human. She thought my silence meant indifference. She never understood that indifference would have been easier. The truth was worse. I remembered every version of her, the oracle, the ghost, the girl who hated me beneath the stars, the woman who would eventually stand beside me with a blade pointed at my throat and trembling hands because, despite everything I had done, she could no longer decide whether she wanted to kill me or trust me. Realigning paradox pulse, subject Stxrfallz, status asleep in the driver's seat, emotional anchor, her, threat level catastrophic, recommendation separation, response denied. 4. Foreshadowing. She thinks we are riding toward the capital to free it. She thinks the enemy waits beyond its walls, that the court is still the monster I once served, and that I have finally chosen her side. She doesn't know the capital is already dead. She doesn't know I have been leading her there for the same reason a moth follows a dying star, because some things are drawn toward the very light that will consume them. She looks at the glowing triangular mark on the back of my neck and feels the pulse of her own stolen silver shard beneath her skin. Her eyes narrow whenever she looks at me, as though she can sense the lie but cannot find its shape. I can almost hear the question she refused to ask. Why did you save me? The answer is the one thing I cannot give her. Because I was the one who destroyed you. Because every time you hate me, I remember that you were alive. Because somewhere between betraying you and saving you, I became unable to imagine a universe where you did not exist. She thinks this shard contains her memories. It doesn't. Her memories were only the bait. The shard is the key to the antiverse, and I am the door. The first form, she was the oracle of the High Court, worshipped by kingdoms that eventually would kneel before her ruin. The second form, she was the fallen ghost in the crater, whispering my name to a graveyard of stars. The final form, she will be the ignition. I wiped the golden blood from my steel and hear her horse approaching behind me. 3 paces, always 3. She had never trusted me enough to ride beside me. 3 paces, I'll put it at 3 Stxrfallz. Yeah. But never distrusted me enough to ride far away. That distance has become our ritual. An invisible line neither of us dare to cross. Her hooves strike the vitrified glass, each sound echoing through the dead landscape like a heartbeat. She is calculating blueprints of ash while I calculate how many more lies I can tell before she finally sees the truth. She believes the hand guiding her belongs to a savior. Let her believe it. Let her hate me. Let her follow me into the darkness while she still believes she is following me toward the light. Perhaps that is the cruelest part of all. I no longer know whether I am manipulating her into becoming the weapon that will destroy the world, or whether she has already become the only thing capable of destroying the monster inside me. She stops behind me. Are you ever going to tell me what you really are? I turn slowly. For a moment, neither of us speaks. There's enough hatred between us to start a war. There's enough silence to end one. There's enough silence between us to end one. I smile, but there is nothing kind in it. Eventually, her hand moves towards her blade. Promise? No. She hates me for that answer. I know, because she smiles too. And somehow, after everything I did to her, that is the most terrifying thing she could have done. I turn toward the ruined capital. Get up, Oracle. Her eyes remain fixed on mine. We have a lot of empires to destroy. Chapter 3, The Architecture of Glass. A god's blood does not wash out of the dirt. It burns a hole straight through to the underworld. The grand highway to the capital was gone, replaced by jagged, starfall-wide trench of vitrified glass where the vanguard of the High Court had tried to make their stand. Now, the only sound left was the rhythmic clack-clack of horse hooves echoing against the melted stone. She rode tree Stxrfallz behind him. Stxrfallz behind him. Her gaze locked on the small, glowing triangular indentation on the back of his neck. It pulsed in perfect, agonizing synchronization with the silver memory shard tucked safely inside his leather coat. "You're staring again, Oracle," he said without turning around. His voice carried that same cold, terrifyingly smooth cadence that made the dark matter beneath her skin coil in submission. "If you want the pieces of your mind back, you only have to ask, but you won't like the price." She looked down at her hands, where the veins of thick, oil-slick darkness were slowly beginning to harden into solid, crystalline scales. The architects had built her to calculate the end of empires. But as they neared the glowing obsidian spires of the capital city on the horizon, she realized a far worse truth. She wasn't calculating the city's ruin. She was looking at its blueprints, and her hands were already itching to tear down the walls. He pulled the reins, bringing his mount to a sudden halt at the edge of the overlook. Below them, the sprawling capital looked like a glowing web of gold and marble, entirely unaware of the shadow looming over its gates. He dismounted in one fluid, predatory motion and walked back to her horse. He didn't offer to help her down. Instead, he rested his gloved hand on her saddle, leaning in close enough that she could feel the unnatural, freezing aura radiating from his skin. "Look at them," he murmured, his gaze fixed on the city, though his attention was entirely on her. They pray to the sky for a savior, completely oblivious that the star they worshipped is currently riding with their executioner. "I am not your executioner," she said, her voice dropping to a sharp, defiant whisper. She leaned down slightly. Shit. I dropped my shit. Okay. She leaned down slightly, refusing to pull away from its suffocating proximity. You think you hold my leash because you have my memories, but a weapon doesn't care who pulls the trigger. If I burn this world, I might just start with you." A low, genuinely amused laugh escaped his lips. He reached up, his fingers brushing against the cold obsidian scales lining her jawline. The touch sent a violent jolt of static through her core. A dangerous mixture of revulsion and a strange, deep-rooted familiarity that she couldn't erase, no matter how much of her mind was missing.
Lexi,
Hello.
we're going to get Indian food. What would you like?
Tell her I want a paper masala dosa, and I want some butter chicken, and I want some garlic naan bread, and I want a mango lassi. Did you get that?
I don't remember that.
Just think, paper masala, paper dosa, say paper dosa, butter chicken, and mango.
Paper dosa.
Butter chicken, mango.
Paper dosa. Butter chicken.
Mango.
Mango.
Okay, see you. I'll fall in love again, and then I found her. I said I would never fall unless it's you I'm falling to. I was lost within the darkness, and I found her. I found you. Ooh. Okay. No matter how much of her mind was missing. "That's the spirit," he whispered, his thumb pressing just firmly enough against her jaw to force her to look directly into his dark eyes. "Hate me all you want, Oracle. Use that rage to fuel the fire, because when we walk through those gates, I need you at your absolute worst." He let his hand drop, stepping back with a cold, mocking bow. "After you, my dark majesty." She did not dismount. Instead, she urged her horse forward, forcing him to step back or be trampled beneath the hooves. He didn't flinch. He merely watched her with that maddening, calculated stillness as she slipped past him. The closer they got to the sprawling golden gates of the capital, the louder the voices in her head became. They weren't screaming anymore. They were whispering, humming a low, catastrophic lullaby that harmonized perfectly with the dark matter hardening on her skin. "There, I recognize you. The second you step, the void tick you step into. The void tick. You step into the light, she said over her shoulder, her voice cutting through the heavy, stagnant air. The High Court knows their own executioner's face. Let them look, he replied, effortlessly vaulting back into his saddle. He drew the rusted black iron blade, letting the tip drag against the vitrified glass of the highway. It left a smoking, jagged line in their wake. They spent a millennium rewriting the stars to forget us. It's time to remind them that some ink doesn't dry. He pulled up right beside her, the horse's flanks brushing together as the towering shadow of the outer wall loomed over them. The air grew so cold their breath mingled in a single freezing mist beneath their faces. If you betray me inside these walls, Oracle, he murmured, his gaze dropping to her lips before snapping back to her eyes, I'll bury your silver shard in the deepest trench of the void. She leaned in, the obsidian scales on her neck flaring with a dangerous violent violet crimson light. If you fail to keep up with me, I'll let the dark swallow you first. He smiled, a sharp, lethal thing. Deal. The iron gates didn't open, they screamed. As they crossed the threshold into the lower wards, the golden architecture didn't look like a holy city anymore. It looked like a gilded slaughterhouse. Hanging from the alabaster arches were hundreds of empty, glowing bird cages, the traditional vessels used by the High Court to drain the celestial fuel from fallen stars. I don't talk about you anyways. I'm sorry, famous shit on you. I'm sorry, you will escape. That's the best time I give it to you. Anyway, they were waiting for you, she whispered, her fingers tightening on her reins as the dark matter on her skin throbbed in warning. They knew you'd bring me back here. Of course they knew, he said, his eyes scanning the empty, eerie streets with absolute detachment. The High Court isn't stupid, Oracle. They just suffer from a terminal amount of arrogance. He stopped his horse in the center of the deserted plaza. Above them, the massive clock tower of the capital didn't chime. Its hands were spinning backward, casting long, erratic shadows across the white stone. Why are we here? She demanded, turning her mount to face him. If this is an ambush, we're cornered. We aren't cornered, he said, dismounting and walking toward the base of the clock tower. He didn't look back at her as he jammed his rusted black iron blade directly into the geometric gears exposed at the base of the tower. We're exactly where the blueprint says the foundation is weakest. With a sickening crunch. Remove these. Comma. The black iron corroded the golden gears. The backward spinning clock violently seized, its internal mechanism shrieking as the entire plaza began to tilt. But the ground didn't open up to reveal a secret passage. Shit. Instead, a devastating shockwave of white light detonated from the tower, throwing her from her horse. She hit the stone hard, the obsidian scales on her back absorbing the worst of the impact, but the impact sent her vision spinning to a hazy, fractured crimson, blood crimson. I'll just say to a hazy, fractured blood crimson. Crimson blood? Or blood crimson? No, I said crimson blood. I'll say blood. Yeah. I'll pick you. There's another game for 2. Bye. Shoot, this song got me. It's got me. No. No more. I wanna see you out that door, baby. Bye, bye, bye. I'll be a fool for you. Just another playing on your game for 2. I'll leave you, no lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye. Okay. Through the dust, she saw him standing perfectly still over her. He wasn't looking at the city walls or the arriving vanguard of golden guards. He was looking down at her, the silver memory shard spinning idly in his left hand. You still think the High Court stole your memories, don't you? He asked, his voice echoing in that dual, terrifying frequency. She struggled to breathe, the gravity in her chest collapsing under the pressure of the white light. What? What are you talking about? He knelt beside her, his dark eyes entirely devoid of the malice she had grown used to. There was only a cold, ancient exhaustion. He tapped the silver shard against her forehead, but it didn't trigger a painful surge of power. It triggered a memory, not from before her fall, but from the moment of it. In the vision, she wasn't being thrown out of the sky by the gods. In the vision, she wasn't being thrown out of the sky by the gods. She wasn't. Anyway. She was standing on the precipice of the cosmos, willingly pouring her own divinity into the silver shard, her face twisted in absolute fury as she handed the glowing triangle to the boy standing before her. Take it. Ooh. Ooh. Take it. Okay. Her own voice echoed from the past, sounding louder and more terrifying than the deity. Let me just bold all this. Why is it so hard to select all this? No. Hide it where the court can never find it. And when I wake up in the dirt with no name, make me hate you. Make me suffer until the hunger is big enough to swallow them all. The memory snapped shut. She gasped, staring up at him in absolute horror. The leash wasn't his trap, it was hers. He hadn't engineered her ruin. He was just following. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, libby, libby, lip, dip. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, this is my favorite playlist. This is Sapphire. Dun, 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 dun. I have many playlists, but this one's Sapphire. Anyway. The memory snapped shut. She gasped, staring up at him in absolute horror. The leash wasn't his trap. It was hers. He hadn't engineered her ruin. He was just following the instructions she had written for him before she wiped her own mind. The guards are here, he whispered, his eyes turning completely black once more as he drew his blade from the ruined gears, turning his back to her to face the oncoming army. Are you hungry yet, Oracle? The white light from the shattered clock tower didn't fade. It went wrong. It curdled into a sickly, rhythmic flash like a dying television screen in an empty room, illuminating the plaza in jagged, hyper-detailed bursts. With every strobe of light, the architecture changed. The golden spires didn't look like stone anymore. They looked like rows of massive ribbed teeth pointing down toward the plaza. Flash. Flash. Let me delete this and this. The vanguard of the Golden Guards wasn't an army of men. They were hollow, skinless husks. Their armor welded directly into their meat, their helmets entirely flat and mirror-faced. They didn't march, they twitched forward, their limbs snapping at unnatural angles, dragging their heavy halberds across the stone with a sound like bone scraping on a blackboard. Flash. You engineered this. She choked out, her fingers clawing at the stone as her own gravity field began to turn inside out. The revelation of her own past self wasn't a comfort, it was a violation. The version of her that existed before the fall wasn't a victim. She was a cold, calculating monster that had used this boy as a scalpel. He didn't answer. He didn't even look like the boy anymore. As the blackness fully claimed his eyes, his jaw unhinged slightly too wide, his posture slumping into a predatory loose-limbed stance that mirrored the twitching horrors marching toward them. The entity inside her chest didn't roar. It began to hyperventilate, a frantic, wet, panting sound that vibrated right against her ribs. The script was written in our blood. The chorus inside her head wept. This would be play right. Yes. Font. The chorus inside her head wept, the voices now sounding like terrifying children. She trapped us in here with him. She trapped us all in the dark. Playwright CS. What the heck? Yo, what the heck's going on? Playwright CS. Bold. And italic. Okay. So I gotta edit this thing because I pasted it directly from my notes, so it still has like a little, because it didn't didn't follow my formatting. The stranger, the executioner she had created, slowly turned his head back to look at her. His skin had gone translucent. The black void fluid underneath his veins pulsing violently. The cloth he had used to wipe his blade was soaked through, dripping a heavy tar-like shadow onto the ground that actively ate away at the stone. "You told me to make you suffer," he whispered, his voice splitting into a dozen discordant frequencies that bypassed her ears and echoed directly inside her brain. "You told me if you ever begged for mercy, it meant the illusion was working. So don't look at me like that, Oracle." He stepped closer, the weight of his presence flattening the air until her nose began to bleed a silver glowing mercury. He raised the rusted iron blade, the tip hovering just a millimeter, not just a starfall, just a starfall above, just a mini starfall, just a micro starfall above her trembling throat. "The army isn't here to capture you," he smiled, his teeth suddenly looking too sharp, too numerous in the flashing light. "They're here to run from what I'm about to do to you, to wake the rest of you up." Oh. The sky didn't just go dark, it dropped. The clouds scraped against the roofs of the buildings, suffocating the plaza in a dense, freezing fog that smelled of copper and old graves. From the shadows of the fog, the first line of mirror-faced guards stopped. They raised their weapons, not in an attack stance, but in a defensive perimeter, their bodies trembling as if they were trying to hold back something much worse than an army. "The clock is at 0, he whispered, his breath freezing into black ice against her cheek. "Time to scream." The silver mercury blood dripped from her nose, sizzling as it hit the freezing stone. She couldn't move. The crushing weight of the gravity field pinned her flat, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. Every instinct she possessed screamed that she was entirely at his mercy, and for the first time since she had fallen from the sky, the defiance left her. The sheer overwhelming reality of what she had engineered broke through her defenses. She looked up at him through the flashing curdled light, her silver eyes wide, her breathing shallow and ragged. She stopped fighting the downward pull. She let her shoulders drop, her head tilting back. "So no, we didn't have to cut me off." Sorry. Anyway. Yeah. She let her shoulders drop, her head tilting back slightly, completely exposing her throat to the cold edge of his rusted iron blade. "Do it," she whispered, her voice a breathless, trembling surrender that echoed through the unnatural silence of the plaza. "If this is what I commanded, take the rest." A dark, intense satisfaction flickered across his translucent features. He didn't drive the blade down. Instead, he lowered the weapon, the cold metal tracing a slow, agonizing line down the center of her neck, right over the pulsing obsidian scales, until the tip rested against her collarbone. He leaned down, his shadow completely enveloping her, his freezing breath brushing against her lips. The proximity was suffocating, a dangerous, intoxicating mixture of absolute terror and a profound magnetic pull that locked them together in the middle of the nightmare. "That's exactly what I wanted to hear," he murmured, his voice dropping to a low, seductive gravel that vibrated straight through her core. Na, 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 Sorry, I'm so in love, bro. gonna make you mine. Sorry, I wrote this book myself, so it's one of my newest editions. I actually have a volume 2 and 3, and I have plans for this series. I have a lot of plans for this series. It's gonna be like as big as the next Harry Potter. Trust me. I hope so, at least. Anyway, he reached down, his dark veined fingers closing tightly around the silver memory shard in his pocket. The artifact flared with a sudden, blinding crimson heat. Blinding crimson violet crimson heat. Ready to tear the next piece of her soul wide open. She had built the executioner to destroy the world, but as the dark closed in, she realized she had built him to destroy her first. Chapter 5, The Gravity of the Gallows. Wait, I'm missing a chapter. I have to name this chapter 4, bro, because I'm missing a chapter. I literally lost a chapter, so everything's messed up. Okay. That was a good 20 pages we just read, I swear. Yeah. Estonia 24. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. Would you buy my book? Would you buy me? I'm a jukebox. Estonia. Oh, that's Playfair. Estonia 24. How do I make this what I want it to be? Do I turn it to 18? Bite me. Sorry, what? Okay. Chapter 4. The Gravity of the Gallows. The line between a savior with a U, I'm Canadian, I'm not sure why I forgot that, and an executioner is exactly the width of a blade. The white light of the Capitol didn't just die, it rotted, leaving the plaza drowning in heavy violet twilight, in a heavy crimson. Do you say violet crimson or crimson violet? What do you think? Till I make you mine. You know that I won't stop until I make you mine. Until I make you mine. Put your hand in mine. Know that I won't stop until I make you mine. Okay, anyway, I'll say in a heavy violet crimson twilight, because I'm gonna follow the same format as before. Let's not mess it up too much. Let's keep it the same. A heavy violet crimson twilight that smelled of ozone and crushed stone. She remained on her knees, the cold imprint of his iron sword still burning against her skin, her breath hitching as the echoes of her own forgotten commands settled into the marrow of her bones. He didn't pull away. He stood over her like a shadow cast by a dying star, the silver memory shard pulsing in his palm, casting long, fractured geometric patterns across her face. The vanguard is retreating, he murmured. Oh, I like this song too. Anyway, the vanguard is retreating, he murmured, his dark eyes tracking twitching mirror-faced guards as they pulled back into the obsidian corridors of the inner palace. They aren't preparing a defense oracle, they're sealing the vaults. They know exactly what you came back to take. She forced herself to stand, her limbs trembling under the residual weight of the gravity collapse, the obsidian scales on her arms shimmering in the dark. She had designed this nightmare to break the world. But as she looked at the towering gates of the inner sanctum, she realized the most dangerous truth of all. The boy holding the key was the only thing she feared more than the dark. The air in the lower wards grew so thick it felt solid, a suffocating vacuum that lunged into the lungs like broken glass. He did not offer a hand to help her up. He didn't move an inch. He simply watched her drag herself to her feet, his expression an unreadable slab of stone as the violet-crimson twilight bled into an absolute pitch. Crimson twilight bled into absolute pitch. The inner sanctum is 300 paces from here, he said, his voice dropping all pretense of the deceptive mortal boy. It was rough, grating, and heavy with the weight of 1,000 dead empires. The mages inside have spent centuries preparing for this day. They won't use change this time. They will use the marrow of your own kin to strip the starlight from your chest. She wiped the remaining silver mercury from her lip with the back of her hand, smearing the glowing fluid across her jaw. The obsidian scales beneath her skin throbbed, a brutal rhythmic ache that demanded violence. Let them try, she spat. Let them try, she spat, her voice hardening, stripping away the vulnerability from moments before. I built the weapon. I know exactly where the safety is. He stepped into her space, the heavy fabric of his coat brushing against her armor. The silver shard between his fingers hummed a low, erratic frequency that made her teeth rattle. He didn't look at her with tenderness. He looked at her like a general measuring the structural integrity of a siege engine. If your knees buckle again when the vault doors open, he whispered, his grip tightening on the rusted iron hilt until his knuckles turned white. I won't carry you. I will leave you in the dirt for the scavengers. She didn't flinch. She stepped closer, pressing her collarbone directly against the cold flat of his blade, her eyes flashing a dangerous, blinding silver. If my knees buckle, she whispered back, it will be because I'm kneeling to watch you burn first. A grim, sharp nod was his only reply. He turned toward the massive obsidian doors of the sanctum, raising the black iron blade as the first wave of heavy mechanical thuds echoed from behind the gate. The siege had begun. Okay. The massive obsidian doors did not slide. Oh my God, I feel it's in this special world. So hard, I'll see you saying, oh, I feel it in my heart. Nothing scares me anymore. Kiss me hard before I go. Summertime sadness. I just wanted you to know. Maybe you're a mess. I love the summertime sadness. Summertime sadness. Summertime sadness. Oh. The electric tonight. Yeah, I'm reading you to sleep. Anyway, the massive obsidian doors did not slide or swing open. They split down the middle like a breaking bone, releasing a wave of hot, sulphurous, bleeding air that instantly choked the twilight. Hot, sulphurous, bleeding air. That's period. Shit. Okay. That instantly choked the twilight. But as the vault exposed its hollow interior, the expected army of mages wasn't there. The sanctum was completely empty, save for a massive circular pool of liquid silver in the center of the room, reflecting nothing but the dead sky above. The moment her eyes hit the silver surface, the triangle shard in his hand didn't just pulse, it shattered into a dozen microscopic needles that drove themselves straight into his palm. He didn't cry out, but his grip faltered. and the raw, unedited memory hit her mind like a physical blow. She didn't just remember a plan, she remembered the truth of who he was. In the vision, she wasn't handing him the shard to hide it from the High Court. She was standing over the very same silver pole inside this sanctum centuries ago, holding a knife to her own throat. And the boy standing across from her wasn't her protector, her executioner, or her general. He was the first God King of the High Court. Ooh. The entity inside her chest, the ravenous, light-devouring dark matter she thought she had absorbed in the cavern, wasn't a monster she had hunted. It was him. Wait. This is deep, bro. This is deep. This is very deep. This is lore. We're invested in the plot. Okay, the plot. Yo, I should turn this into an anime someday, for real. Anyway, I'll turn this. I can definitely draw this out. This would be so romantic. Sorry. Oh. Thank you. Wasn't a monster she had hunted. It was him. Centuries ago, to strip him of his throne, she had used her cosmic gravity to rip the dark core straight out of his chest, sealing his monstrous divinity inside her own soul, and leaving him a powerless mortal shell. He hadn't let her fall to save her from the court. He had spent a millennium guiding her back to this room, using her hatred, her hunger, and her submission to carry his stolen godhood right back to the only place it could be reattached. Ooh, shit. The memory dissolved, snapping her back to the present. She stumbled backward. Okay, wait, I want to italicize this. Let me italicize this line. No, not header. I don't want to put a header. I want to italicize this. If I were to put a header, it would be my name real quick. Okay, let me just turn this into the right color and everything. There needs to be an accent on this E. I need to change my keyboard into the Canadian French keyboard and put the accent on the E. Where is it? That's the wrong way, is it? That's the opposite way. Shit. This one. I swear it's this button. Oh, it's this button here. Ocean Piantino Alberto. Okay, what a nice name. It's okay, my name, I'll make my name known someday. I'll put it as this one. Let me put it pretty big. Sacrifice. I love you for infinity. Okay, I'll put it at 24, like the rest, and I'll change the color to be like a darker purple. That works. Yeah, so it says my name on every page, exactly. The memory dissolved, snapping her back to the present. She stumbled backward, her breath hitching as she looked at him. The translucent skin, the black veins, the loose predatory stance. It wasn't a mutation from the void. It was his original shape returning to him, drawn out by the proximity of the pool. He stood by the water, his hand dripping with the silver shards of her anchor. He looked down at his palms, then slowly turned his gaze to her, the deceptive human brown of his eyes completely dissolving into a terrifying, limitless gold. You always were a brilliant strategist, Oracle, he said. His voice no longer splitting into frequencies, but carrying the heavy, undisputed authority of a king. But you forgot the most basic rule of the board. He took a step toward her, the black iron blade dissolving to ash in his hand as his true power began to manifest. You can't use a monster to catch a monster without giving it a taste of the throne. The silver pool did not reflect the victim anymore. It reflected a trap. The revelation of his true identity as the first God King didn't shatter her. It clicked the final missing gear of her calculation into place. The wide-eyed terror vanished from her gaze, replaced by a cold, blinding silver luminescence that turned the mercury veins in her arms to solid, radiant steel. She didn't stumble back. She locked her heels into the obsidian floor, the gravity field around her boots intensifying until the stone beneath her feet fractured under the sheer density of her mass. I didn't forget the rules of the board, she said, her voice dropping to a low, lethal resonance that made the liquid silver pool ripple violently. I knew exactly what you'd do when you got back to this room. A monster always returns to its throne. Horse to the old town road, I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. Take my horse to the old town road, I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. Here, Mercury. The color of Mercury. Here. I don't know if you've seen Mercury, but I'm talking about the planet Mercury. Do you see it? Hell yeah, you see the colors? Okay, you see liquid Mercury. Do you see the color of liquid Mercury? The mercury in her veins. It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, can you picture it now? Okay. Okay. Yes. Radiant steel. She didn't stumble back. She locked her heels. Okay. Until the stone beneath her feet fractured under the sheer density of her mass. I didn't forget the rules of the board, she said, her voice dropping to a low, lethal resonance that made the liquid silver pool ripple violently. I knew exactly what you'd do when you got back to this room. A monster always returns to its throne. I wanna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. Horses in the back. Yep. That was prime Lil Nas X, bro. I love that. Yeah. The God King paused, his golden eyes narrowing as the ambient pressure in the sanctum suddenly shifted. Ooh, I love this song.
Ooh, I love all your songs. All of your songs are good.
I know. I know. Thank you.
Like, you're such a U-Bus. I love this. She's such a cute U-Bus. She's like a big U-Bus.
Too far.
I was literally me and Skittle to listen to this yesterday. Me and Skittle to listen to Get Lucky. We were all listening to shit like that. Yeah, we were all doing that. Hell yeah. I love that.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Yeah. What keeps the plan spinning? It has no limit.
We too far, so I know I'm up all night to get some. I'm up all night to get some. I'm up all night to get lucky. 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 I'm up all night to get lucky.
This is my bed. I don't know, bro. Fuck that fuck. Limit. Keeps on giving. What's this I'm feeling?
Damn it. Okay.
I'm with it. Yeah.
We've come too far. So she's up all night to get some. She's up all night to get some. I'm up all night to get some. I'm up all night to get lucky. I'm up all night to get some. I'm up all night to get some. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night to get lucky. Up all night to get lucky. She's up all night to get lucky. She's up all night to get lucky. Get lucky. All night to get sun. She's up all night to get sun. Up all night to get lucky. Okay, guys. The God King paused, his golden eyes narrowing as the ambient pressure in the sanctum suddenly shifted, pinning his newly reclaimed divinity to the spot. The air didn't just turn cold, it became completely immovable. "You think you can bind me again?" he asked, his voice a low rumble of thunder as he tried to raise his hand. "The anchor is broken, the dark matter is mine. The dark matter was never a curse I carried," she whispered. Stepping directly into a suffocating aura, her face merely micro stars. Her face micro star falls from his, bro. Yo, micro star falls. Hey, I hope your dick isn't a micro one. Oh, what? Oh, no. It's a microscopic? It's not a microscopic dick, right? Ooh. Lock in. Okay. "The dark matter was never a curse I carried," she whispered, stepping directly into his suffocating aura, her face micro star falls from his. The obsidian scales on her jaw flared with a blinding starlit heat, actively burning against his shadow. "It was the bait. I brought your soul back to the precise coordinates where it was meant to be executed." She reached out. Executed. She reached out, her hands clamping around his wrists with the force of a collapsing star. The entity inside her chest didn't fight her anymore, it obeyed, the ravenous, light-devouring dark matter violently inverted, pulling backward out of her own soul and dragging his essence along with it, locking them both into a terminal, inescapable orbit. Through the split obsidian doors, the sky above the capital began to fold inward, like the stars aligning into a perfect geometric cage of absolute light. "You didn't draw me out of their reach," she whispered against his lips, her gaze locked onto his as the world began to fracture around them. "You walked yourself right back into the gallows." That's where the chapter title comes from, the gallows, right? The cosmic pull between them tightened, the gravity field flattening the air into a suffocating, hyper-pressurized vacuum. He was the first God King, but she was a machine built to break him, and she had never been more calculated. His wrist strained against her grip, golden veins flaring as he tried to break the starlit deadbolt she had clamped down on his power. He couldn't move. The absolute mass of her presence was a physical weight crushing his chest, forcing him to look up at her. "You played your part perfectly," she murmured, leaning in so close that the silver luminescence of her eyes cast sharp predatory shadows across his face. The tone of her voice wasn't just cold. It was an intoxicating, lethal promise. "You spent 1,000 years thinking you were the hunter, just so you would bring every scattered piece of your godhood right to my feet." A dark, strained smile pulled at the corner of his mouth, despite the pressure flattening his ribs. "And now that I'm here, what happens to the weapon when the target is gone, Stxrfallz?" Oh my god, I love the old music, bro.
Exactly, you're just like me. I'm such an old soul.
I'm an old soul too, literally.